Hi, welcome to our webinar series where we talk about emerging interfaces in human-computer interfaces. Since last one, we were doing more of interactive discussions, and if you remember, the previous webinar was on novel foot interfaces, and today we will be talking about cloth tiles, about these augmenting clothes with interactive displays. Before I invite the guest for today, let's watch a short video that will give you a preview of what we will be talking today.
Body perception alternator. The virtual abdomen area would expand when the user eats fruits. Simultaneously, we control the compression levels of the user's shirt to simulate tight clothing. In the ambience controller, individually controllable holes on the clothing open up depending on the wind in the virtual forest. In the micro-tactile renderer, we simulated the sense of a bird flying on top of a user's forearm. From a user study, we found that our toolkit was easy to use for XR developers and supports iterative prototyping to enable cloth deformation and synchronized with XR applications.
Okay, so this is just to give you a preview of what we will be talking, and it's best to have the person who created some of these things to talk about his experience. And for this, the guest for today is Dr. Sachit Muthukumaran, who did his PhD at the University of Auckland at the Augmented Human Lab. So without further ado, let's welcome Sachit for this conversation.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Suranga, for the introduction.
Thank you, Sachit, dedicating your time. I know it's very late night in Auckland right now, and thanks for dedicating some time. To get started, maybe before we jump into interactive clothes that you have developed, can you give a little background about your interest and how you got into this work around augmenting clothes?
My background is in human-computer interaction, and I graduated with my PhD at the University of Auckland, New Zealand. And currently, I'm working as the technical lead of a company focusing on wearable technologies that can enable comfort to the users. And if I talk a bit about my research, my PhD work mainly focused on designing wearable interfaces that could enhance people's capabilities in diverse contexts. Like during my PhD, I explored ways to augment day-to-day wearable clothing interfaces to render feedback to the wearer. And I introduced a novel concept called augmented cloth displays, or I would like to call these ACDs from here onwards. And these ACDs empower users in diverse contexts, and we can talk about it later in deep.
Okay, thanks, Sajid. So maybe let's talk about some of the things we saw in the little teaser video. So there were clothes, and then on top of that there were orange color little plastic pieces, and they were moving around. Can you explain a bit about what was happening there and why these things were moving, and so that people get clarity on what they saw in the video?
That project is called XRTIC, and that's a prototyping toolkit for XR developers. XR means the extended reality virtual application developers. So they can easily embed these cloth actuators into clothing, just like plug and play way, and create these augment these virtual reality applications, like to improve the immersion in XR applications. They can use these toolkits. So that's the toolkit is about. And so in that toolkit, you can see a lot of ACDs. Like ACDs means the augmented cloth displays. If I have time, I can explain what ACDs are.
Of course. So maybe can you maybe explain how one of these things work? How do you make them move, and what's the working principle of these adding these moving bits onto clothes? How does this work?
Yeah, I mean, basically this project was started like way before, like uh, focusing on a publication, and so uh, this prototyping toolkit is basically has two steps. Like once design is like confirmed, like they can 3D print a structural element on a cloth using a 3D printer. Then they can run a special smart material called shape memory alloy, or I mean, usually we call it SMAs, and we can embed these SMA wires into this 3D structural element, and they can activate these actuators in certain ways. And depending on the like shape and the thickness of the 3D printer structure, they can like navigate the actuation patterns. So likewise, the developers can use this toolkit to achieve certain activations in plots.
Right. So basically with these moving pieces attached to the cloth, you can create things like the cloth, folding, or the person feeling something poking into their body. Uh, those various kinds of feelings, right? And
Yeah.
various kinds of deformation on the cloth, so you can change the shape of the cloth as well. uh, I remember you did a very interesting project during COVID time when people could not uh, you know uh, uh, be close to each other. You created a project where people still could feel each other's touch using your technology, and then this interactive wall where they can co-create a drawing. Can you tell a bit more about that project?
Yeah, so actually, I have done several ACDs, and that's another ACD, like another augmented cloth display, and that project is called Phantom Touch. So that's a forearm augmentation that users can wear on the forearm. I mean, we chose forearm only for the application. So that forearm augmentation has several pixels, like several plasters like embedded in a forearm sleeve, so we can control each plaster like separately, and likewise we can create different patterns, like for example, for one's arms being stroke, or one's arm being like grabbing sensations and stroking sensations, and we can recreate these touch patterns using this forearm augmentation. So I mean, there are multiple applications we can go for. Like, for example, this can enhance like remote touch communication, or we can use these interfaces to like guiding interfaces in sports or anything. Like, also we can use these interfaces to provide real-time feedback in virtual reality application and as such.
Right.
So I mean, to like further like showcase the possibility of this project, we, we also like did a massive uh, LED display, like interface with the forearm augmentation, and we let the users play with the setup, like so they could draw several patterns on the LED wall, and they could feel the drawings using this forearm augmentation in a diverse way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, these all this sounds really nice, and sounds very futuristic. The idea of augmenting the clothes and get the clothes to deform and also create haptic sensations through clothes, and all this sounds science fiction and very futuristic. And I know that's not the case, and you're actually using that into real world applications beyond research lab projects. And tell us a bit more about how you started using this in a commercial application where you run your own startup.
Yeah, I mean, so once I finished my PhD, received two research grants to carry on my PhD work as an extension. So currently, I'm working as the technical lead of the company we initiated, and it's New Zealand-based wearable tech company with a vision of providing comfort through connectivity for those who need it the most. And our goal is to provide real-world solutions to underlying issues around pet care, aged care, and healthcare in New Zealand and worldwide. And these days we are developing several prototypes and testing with them the users, and we are hoping to bring the prototypes to the commercial level soon. So that's the status of the company and the applications. Yes.
And I'm very happy and proud to see some of these things unfolding. Could you talk through a bit more about your overall PhD experience and working together in the lab?
Oh yeah, I mean, always is. I mean, doing a PhD is not like an individual thing. Like it's a collective effort, and for example, we kind of brainstorm ideas. It's not like we get this idea overnight. Like we need to see, and we need to see what each other doing, and so that exposes us to that would enhance our exposure to the tech domain and research domain. So likewise, as a team, for especially, I mean, we have achieved so many things, for example, the augmented human lab. And so in there, the working culture and everything was pushed as a team. And yeah, that helped a lot actually. So otherwise, I mean, for example, if we are doing a publication or if we are doing demonstrations, or I mean, all the people gather together and contribute to that project, and it's a nice experience though. So likewise, we could achieve anything during the PhD and everything. So that's how it.
Great. Yeah. Same here. It was nice to have you work with me, in the lab, and as I said, I'm very impressed with the kind of novel interfaces you built, and also the fact that you took some of the ideas beyond the research and now applying them in a real impactful way through your own startup. Seems like there are some questions, so we are now opening the floor for questions as usual. Feel free to ask anything from me or from Sachit. So Madhuka is asking if cloth tiles are available to be purchased or used research purpose. Sachit, maybe we can talk about your collaboration with the German Institute and anything else you would like to share.
Yeah, I mean, currently it's not in the market. I should say, like, it's still in the work in progress. Like, I mean, but if you have a specific application, for example, I mean, you can reach me, and I mean, we can specifically design several prototypes for you. Like, for example, these days I'm working with a set of researchers in Germany. Like, they wanted to investigate the neurocognitive effect on these kind of interfaces, and they wanted specially designed prototype for them, and I kind of developed that and shipped it from New Zealand to Germany, and they are continuously working with me to extend their project. So likewise, I mean, if you need anything, just reach me out or reach Suranga.
So just to add to that, let's say if someone is looking for a commercial product, what Sachit right now working as a commercial engagement is creating these jackets to make your dogs feel less anxious, and that will be out sometime soon, and that will be a commercial product. But if it is about these other projects, cloth tiles, that type of stuff, they are research projects. But then you can, if it is for a research collaboration, we can explore the possibility of building a prototype for the purpose of collaborative research. So these are the two different things that will be available. Any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll wait for another few seconds to see if there's any more questions coming up. If not, as I always say, this video will be available for any of you to watch later, as well as, if you want to see what's happening in the lab, you could look at our webpage www.ahlab.org, as well as you can reach out to me via my website www.suranga.info, and I can put you in touch with Sachit as well. Seems like there's another question that's asking where we are located. So Aditya, as I said, Sachit is currently based in Tauranga in New Zealand, where he's running his startup. And me, most of the time now, I'm based in Singapore, and then I do still collaborate with my previous setup in University of Auckland. So I hope that answers the question. I'm based in Singapore primarily. Sachit is based in New Zealand primarily. Okay, so looks like there's no more questions. As I said, feel free to reach out to us via email or check out the projects in ahlab.org website. Or you can also comment to this video if you had a question, then we'll try to answer there in the video comments as well. Yeah, so I hope to come back with another interesting new emerging human-computer interface in the next webinar. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Sachit, once again for spending your valuable time at this time of the day.
Yeah, thank you, Suranga, for inviting me to this discussion, and thanks everyone for joining us today. And feel free to reach us out if you need to know more about our research work. And have a good one.
Great.